Tell me about your first large multifamily deal.
Yeah, somebody came over to me and they said, "How about you be an LP in the deal?" And I said, "I don't want to be an LP. I want to be a co-GP or a GP." And the conversation took like 10 minutes. Basically, the guy was trying to raise money. I didn't even know what it was at the time. He calls me back a few days later and he goes, "If you want to be a co-GP, how about you speak with the operators and try to raise capital and be investor relations on the deal? Can you do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can do that. Sure." So I spoke with the operators with the main team, and we liked each other. And they go, "Well, how much can you raise?" And I said, "Oh, it's easy, 500,000." And they're like, "Well, you know what? How about you try for 200? And if you raise anything higher than that, it's all a bonus." So I'm like, "Okay, sure." It was 506C. It was 208 doors in San Antonio. I was very excited. I didn't know exactly the process, but I knew I could advertise, and that's what I was doing. I was going on Facebook, on LinkedIn, everywhere, and I was advertising this deal. I was going on networking events, on Zoom calls, and but and I had nobody interested. Maybe, and I know now why, but at the time I didn't. And I'm like, "But the deal is so good. How come nobody's like jumping all over it?" And somebody said, "Well, why don't you try your friends and family?" Not a single of my friend invested in this deal. Not a single person. And I know them for 30 years and they have money. And I realized that they're not investing in the deal, they're investing in you. So they just didn't believe you that you could execute this, that you're the new guy. Maybe you're too desperate. So combination of those things turned off investors. But on one of the calls, I saw one person who needed to do a 1031 exchange. And I contacted him directly and I said, "Hey, listen, we have this deal. We accept 1031s. Would you like to take a look at it?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." So long story short, he had $1 million 1031 and he took the deal.
Oh,
And
wow.
so with one person, I managed to raise 1 million with the 1031.
Nice.
So yeah, it was completely crazy. I wasn't even sure how the whole thing works. Of course, I was reading about it, educating myself like crazy because I'm educating myself on GVs and how the structure is, but specifics of 1031 and how it's transferred and the
Yeah.
whole tenants and common structure, it's more involved. You have attorneys involved, and I told everybody, "Listen, I want to be on all the calls, not because I'm a control freak or anything like that. I want to learn.
Yep.
Please include me. I'll be like a fly on the wall. You're not going to hear from me. I'm just going to learn." And that's how my first syndication was. I consider that a success up until, you ready for this? 2 weeks before closing, and it happened last September, the bank pulled out of the deal.
Oh, damn.
Yep. And I was already counting my money. I was super pumped. Bank
Which
pulled
is
out of
not
the
really has not been uncommon, unfortunately, over the last 6, 9 months or so with the rising interest rates. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the rates started shooting up by 75 basis points
Mhm.
every month. Bank got cold feet, pulled out of the deal. We got another lender. We couldn't get the same rate because the rates obviously jumped up. We couldn't target the same returns to the investors. The deal fell through.
Mhm.
So that's my very first deal, very first syndication. And even though some people might consider it a failure, I don't. It was a huge learning opportunity. I know how everything is structured. I learned so much because of this. Because when we fail, we learn. When we make mistakes, we learn as much as possible. So I started taking classes, educating myself. I mean, the deal was great. The returns were great. Completely not our fault. All the money got returned back to the investors. Nobody lost a single penny. We were very happy about that. Obviously, I mean, we couldn't negotiate with the lender. We couldn't do anything,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But after that deal, everything started snowballing in a positive direction. So after that deal, we were just, super excited of what's going to happen after that.
Were you able to do any get that investor in any other opportunities?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We got that investor into another opportunity in Dallas.
Yeah.
So
It just shows you like
it's a
when you
win-win.
keep chipping away, like one person, one event, one act, just one thing can totally start tipping the dominoes and tipping everything in your direction. It's just don't quit. You're 3 feet. A lot of people know the story about 3 feet from gold. You're 3 feet from gold, so keep digging. So had you stopped and gotten frustrated, you may not have ever got connected with that one investor. Which that one investor was a lot of. One, they had something that operators needed, and that was something how you could make a connection, plus adding other value to like investor relations and asset management, and whatnot, to operators to help them take down a deal. And just quick disclosure, like this is where SEC attorneys come in. Like talk with them, make sure like there's definitely rules on raising money, what you can do, what you can't do, depending on the type of the deal, and 506B, 506C, is it JV and broker dealer, RIA, all that stuff. So very complicated. Talk with attorneys so you don't get in trouble. But anyway, first deal, it wasn't a failure. You learned a lot. You just didn't get the deal.
Yeah.
But you do go on and successfully close other deals with other operators.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Then we started. We started. Everybody. I mean, people noticed us. So noticed me. I was all over social media, and they started educating myself and growing my brand. So after that deal in Sarasota, we closed that, and immediately after, I went direct to seller in Kansas City and found 40 units, and that's a JV as well. So we got that deal closed. And that deal comes with land also, which is zoned for multifamily, with approximately 3 acres of land, if I'm not mistaken. It was 40 doors. Shortly after, I started working on another syndication, which is 419 doors in Northeast Dallas, with an experienced team also who I met through my network and Jake and Gino community. Closed that. And so I got both sides here, JVs on small deals, syndications on large, and of course, learning from a more experienced team that's been in the game for years, that went full cycle so many times. I was just so pumped to be given this opportunity. And after that, two more deals in the Carolinas, the JVs also. One is student housing and one is built to rent. We're actually trying out something new now. So we got 19 brand new single family houses. We bought a whole block in Boone, North Carolina, and they're all long-term rentals. But two of them we try and go for midterm rental to cater to traveling nurses.
Yeah.
Because there is a hospital literally 5 miles away from the property. So we thinking of converting them into midterm rentals and seeing how that's going to work. Ask me in a year. I don't know anything. We just in talks.
It's a buzzword. This whole midterm rental. I don't know if I'm sure it's always been there, but I heard it a couple months ago. I hear it all over the place now. So I don't know if it's just like having a viral effect in the investor community, but it has its place. This is your corporate leases, your traveling nurses, which we get with our short term rental. We'll just get nurses that'll book 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, which is much longer than your typical 3 to 5 or 7 night short-term rental vacationer. So interesting, awesome.
Yeah, so it's after the first deal that might be considered a failure, but not to me. This happened for me, I believe, not to me, and it really accelerated everything.
Well,
after
really
that.
what you got is prior to that, you had theory. Like you knew people were doing it, but it's still, to you, it was theory. Now you're in the mix and everything is real. It didn't make it across the finish line, but everything was real. Like the actual raising money the syndication or the entity documents, working with the attorneys, the insurance, the bank, and the sellers and all this stuff. All this is real. You just unfortunately hit a roadblock.
Yeah.
But the education that you got from that, probably, this is just my theory here, gave you the confidence to go on and be more successful in the next deal. So as you're talking with prospective investors or operators, you have a certain tone in your voice that is going to be translated when you're talking with folks. It could be the same words, but that confidence really,
Yeah.
people pick up on it.
They sure do. Yeah, without a question, because you already know what you should be looking for, what to be asking, what, you even know the objections that you might be getting, and you kind of just address them before they even arise. So it comes with experience, and I'll give you another one. I was speaking with brokers, and this is funny. So I'm trying to speak with brokers. So instead of calling Texas and speaking with Texas brokers, I just got brokers from Oklahoma and called them. And people like, why? Well, because I didn't know how to speak with brokers. And I don't care if I crash and burn in Oklahoma because it's not my market. So I called like 20 of them, and literally first 5 hung up on me because they asked me a question the question is basically to see if you're legitimate, if you're a real
Yep.
buyer. And I didn't even know what to answer because I didn't know. I really didn't. So I practiced on a different market, on different brokers, and then got my reps in. And when I started calling Texas and started calling Kansas City, I already knew all the objections. I already knew what they're gonna ask me. I had my pitch, I had my team ready, I had everything ready. So by then, everything got incredibly easier because I got my reps in, and I got to practice on somebody in a different market.
I
So
love that. And you can do that in a whole bunch of different things with sales or negotiation, just in that safe zone, negotiating a discount for your Starbucks or for your oil change. Just very, very safe zones where there's no penalties. And it's not really going to affect you, as you learn. But so you're doing that in other markets, and that way you're a little bit more experienced when you go into the market that you really want to be in.